Hey everyone, Materim here again with another battle report in preparation for our new campaign. This one has Skip bringing his Wood Elves for the first time against Michael's Beastmen in a 1,000 point battle line scenario. Everything here is pretty normal except for the maw pit in the middle of Michael's side of the table is actually a charnel pit, so he's got -1 leadership within 6 inches of that, and it is making him very nervous. So we'll go ahead and go to deployment on the Beastman side. First, we have a 30-man gore herd. In that, the model in the gray is his BSB. He's has the standard of discipline, maybe? No, he doesn't. He has. I don't think he has any magic standard. He's got some decent defenses though. Then next to that is a 10-man Ungor Raider unit with bows. Behind that is his Bestigor unit, and that has his general, who's a level 2 to the Lore of the Wild. And then next to that is 3 Minotaurs with full command, and additional hand weapons, I believe. And then way over here on this side is 5 of the Chaos Warhounds that they can take. Then on the Wood Elf side, that little square with the tree in it that all of his troops seem to be standing in is the forest that he has. It's poison. The unit in front of that is a unit of 11 Way Watchers with his general, a Way Stalker, in it. Inside the unit, he has his 10 Glade Guard with his level 2 Spell Singer with a channeling staff, Lore of Shadow. Then behind that, he has a unit of 15 Eternal Guard with full command. Now, the thing to note here is he has no BSB at all, so very dangerous there to not have a BSB, but we'll see if he can actually make it work. And I didn't get a second picture of it, but he has a unit of Deepwood Scouts, 10-man strong, with a musician in that top corner near the Beastman's dogs, and those guys are upgraded with the True Flight arrows. The Glade Guard have the Swift Shiver shards, so they have multi-shot too. So the Beastmen get turn 1. Goreherd starts coming up around the forest. The Ungor Raiders start moving through it. Turns out it's one of those spell forests where if you cast magic at it or in it, it hits you and then moves. The conga line of Minotaurs are making their way towards those archers that contain his general. And then the Bestigors look like they're moving to follow the Gore Herd. He did get that level 6 spell for Wild that can summon giants and stuff, so he wants to keep that unit back so he can do that. Then on this side, you see the dogs who realize that they're going to get shot to death by those True Flight arrows, decide to come up this way, hoping to mix it up into combat and be safe before they get shot to death. And Beastman's magic is a bust, so we go into shooting, and the Ungor Raiders end up killing one of the Way Watchers, and that's all he pulls off in shooting. So we go into Wood Elf turn 1. The scouts come running into the forest. They find out that the forest is just a normal forest, but they're going to attempt to finish off those dogs before they can get into anything. And then over here, that statue, the winged statue, is actually an altar of Cain, so the Way Watchers had Frenzy this turn, and because they did not have a BSB, they failed their Frenzy check and attempted to make a charge on the Minotaurs, which would have been huge for the Beastmen if it had succeeded, but it did not. They stop where you see them, and that is actually just outside of the movement of the Minotaurs, so they can still stand and shoot if the Minotaurs come charging in next turn. So shooting goes off. The Minotaur champion dies because of how they had to do up the wounds. Now I'm not sure if that's, like, thinking back on it, I'm not sure if that's how it works or if it should have just been a normal Minotaur that died. But if anybody can let me know if you have to vary up wounds when it's just a champion and 2 guys, that would be appreciated. But ultimately it didn't really matter, because some more shooting goes on, and all that's left is the banner from the Minotaurs by the end of the turn. So that's just not good news for the Minotaurs. This high elf, or Wood Elf shooting is just ridiculous. He's just been putting some crazy hits, and he's just getting so many shots because he's taking the Way Watchers their 2-shot thing, and it's putting holes in these Minotaurs. So we go into Beastmen turn 2, and the Beastman banner charges. The elves stand and shoot and inflict 2 wounds on him before he gets into combat. And really, with as many of those elves that are going to hit back, he's unlikely to last long enough to actually do any damage. So, not really the best news for the Minotaur. And over here, the dogs who were not targeted last turn in favor of the Minotaurs being shot declare a charge against the Glade Guard in the forest. They stand and shoot and kill every one of the dogs. Then with the rest of the movement, the Gore herd kind of circle around the forest. The Bestigors follow them, and the Ungors move so they're a little closer. They're like half of the unit is in the forest, half of them's not. And during the magic phase, the Beastmen managed to succeed in summoning a giant. It's a giant because Michael forgot to bring his Gorgon model, so he is borrowing Chew, who showed up for a cameo appearance in tonight's game, and summons him right behind the little elven poison forest they got going there. Then in combat, shooting didn't do anything. So in combat, the Beastman's or the Minotaur's impact hits kills one elf, and the elves butcher the Minotaur in always strikes first, so he can't do any more damage. So we go into elf turn 2, and really the Glade Guard here turn just slightly, so they've got a good look at the Beastman horde that's coming, and the Glade Guard spin around, or not the Glade Guard, the Eternal Guard spin around and stare down the giant. And this is bad news for that giant. Even if the giant gets in there, unless he terrors them off the board, they're going to kill him with poison attacks and always strikes first. So it's going to be a bad day. Over here, you can see the elves are kind of closing in a little bit. They do some shooting and kill almost a full rank of the Ungor Raiders. So he's just trying to reduce the number of shots he's taken back, because the Ungor are plugging off like one Way Watcher a turn, which is not inconsiderable. And then a good turn with the Glade Guard over here ends up plucking off, looks like 4 of the Gore, or the Gore there. So he's, with only 30 men in a horde, he's already losing attacks, so that's not good. He just needs to do his best to hurry up and get the hell over to those elves and start mixing something up. Then when the long bomb shot from the dudes on the other side of the table that don't take penalties, one more Gore dies. So we go into top of turn 3, and the giant charges into the front of the Eternal Guard. The Eternal Guard do not panic and manage to stay, which, I don't know, Michael still thinks he's got a shot here. Knowing what I know about giants and how often I've played them, I think this giant is going down hard. Then over here, the Gore herd march into the Mistwreath Swamp, so they've got heavy cover against everybody except for the one unit that doesn't take any penalties, and the Bestigors are still following him around. So Michael's thinking the Gore herd's pretty safe here because he's got his BSB in there, so that's an initiative 4. So he's not super likely to fail that initiative check and lose the D6 models. So during shooting, the Ungor Raiders managed to pick off yet another Way Watcher. They've basically killed one every time they've shot. So if this game was going like 10 more turns, he might be able to claim the points for that unit. So with nothing else really going on, we go into combat. And the Eternal Guard only do 2 wounds to the giant, which I thought was under what I had expected. Unfortunately, the way that spell works is that for each wound the monster takes, the wizard casting it has to take a toughness test or take a wound. And Michael proceeded to fail both of them, so the 2 wounds inflicted to the giant kill his caster, which cancels the spell and the giant disappears as well. So, yeah, and there's the poor dead Bray Shaman. It was just not Michael's day. Yeah, I mean, he has toughness 4, so he really should not necessarily have failed both of those. But yeah, it was bad news, and now he's in trouble. He's got no general. He's still got his BSB, but he's still in a lot of trouble. He's hemorrhaging points at this point, and it's not much he's got to respond. So we go into Elf turn 3, and the Way Watchers still aren't moving. They don't really need to. His general in that unit keeps trying to snipe the BSB out of the big unit with his sniper ability, and then the other guys come sit right in the middle of the charnel pit because who really gives a crap? They're not taking penalties from anything. So then in movement over here, after having deftly handled the giant, the Eternal Guard step up a little bit ahead of their archer buddies so that they can be on the receiving end of the gore herd when it decides to come out of the marsh. And so this shows a lot of Gorgon, so you're thinking maybe they did some good shooting. No, in fact, at the end of the movement phase, he has to roll an initiative test or lose models, and he failed it. So models get sucked down. Also during shooting, and I think it's already been shown here, the sniper got 2 wounds off on the BSB that went through the armor and killed him. Unfortunately, we realized a little later that he had a 6-up ward save, so Skip let him go back and roll that, and so he did succeed one of those 2 ward saves, so he will be put back in a minute. And then during shooting, they take some more shots at the Ungors. I think they kill 2 more of them, so there's only 5 left at this point. And then the archers kill another, looks like 5 or 6 gore out of the herd. They're down to less than 20 guys now. But you do see the BSB has reappeared because this is after we caught the error in that armor or that ward save roll. And then it's either the Way Watchers or the other one of the units that hasn't shot yet opens up on the gore herd and just rains hell down upon them. So they lose another 4 or 5 dudes. So now all he's got is 9 gore plus his BSB who already has a wound on him. And he's going to be taking at least 1 more shooting if he can't get a charge on this turn. So we go into Beastmen turn 4, and that's exactly what happens. He tries to charge this unit into the Eternal Guard. They fail their charge and end up right there out in the middle of nowhere. So it's just, this has not been Michael's game in any way, shape, and form. And on top of that, the list that Skip brought is proving surprisingly tough, and Skip is playing it very, very well. I'm just glad I'm not a Beastman today, is all I gotta say. So over here, he decides not to move the Bestigors into the swamp, so he's moving them around. Ungors take another shot. I think they kill 1 more Waystalker. But again, it's really kind of a too little, too late sort of thing. So we go into Elves turn 4. These guys come out of the forest. I think this is after shooting, though. I think I forgot to actually take a picture of movement. He didn't really move much other than these guys. But he ends up shooting all but 1 of the Ungors to death. Then over here he's down to, it looks like 6 Ungors plus the BSB, and he's just taking it. Only plus side of this is that he is next to the Frenzy statue, so that he's not going to take any panic tests from the casualties being inflicted on this unit. So it looks like I missed some other photos. The rest of shooting for that turn killed everything except for the BSB. And so this is turn 5 for the Beastman, and he's frenzied, so he has to charge. He charges right into those Eternal Guard. Yeah, the likelihood he's going to survive that is very, very low. But I think Michael gave up any hopes of winning this game about 2 turns ago. So I think right now he's just get it over with and slaughter them. And over here, the Bestigors come around. Again, I don't really know what he's expecting them to do, but they're at least looking like they want to do something. And then the Ungor Raider just says, "Fuck you guys," and runs around to the side of the Elves. Again, these guys are skirmishers, even though they're not on skirmisher bases. Skip hasn't had them made yet, but they're just going to spin around and kill that thing if they have to. And then we go into combat, and pretty much as predicted, the Eternal Guard just absolutely brutalize this BSB, and he dies before he gets to swing. And so at this point, Michael chooses to surrender, so we get a final look at the board. Very crushing victory for the Wood Elves. So, first, I have to say, congratulations to Skip on what is probably the most violent beatdown he's ever delivered in his Warhammer career. His list was tight. I don't think he had a wasted point in it, and he played it very well. He ended up making sure that there was no chance that the Beastmen were going to get to him. He looked at it and knew for them to win, they had to be in combat, and I'll be damned if he didn't prevent him from getting there. So I think, like, we all were kind of holding our breath in turn one when his Waywatchers failed that frenzy check. I think if they had actually succeeded that charge into the Minotaurs, that would have been a completely different game. Because I think those Minotaurs, if there was a unit of them, still would have been strong enough to wreck face. But the dice went for him when he needed to, and he managed to put the shooting in the right places every turn. So you can't really argue with that. As far as Michael's list, I don't think his list was bad, but he really wants to play Lore of the Wild for fluff purposes. And being that we're only allowing one lore in the game for right now, or we will be when the campaign starts, and that's what we're practicing for. I think he's really screwed by choosing Wild. And I mentioned that to him, but I think he's more interested in playing the image of what he wants to play in the Beastmen, and so absolutely bully on him for that. Um, but I definitely think he's going to have to come up with some other way to deal with the Wood Elves. But for that matter, so am I. I was looking at this the entire time going, I have no idea with either of my armies, Lizardmen or Vamp counts, how I'm going to deal with this. I mean, he's got the sniper character, so my vampires are probably going to be dead turn two. Because he's just going to snipe out the general with them. And the Lizardmen, I mean, with that one unit not taking any to hit penalties, my skinks are basically defenseless, and I just don't know what else I've got that can handle it. So I definitely think Skip has shown that he may be one of the armies to beat with the Wood Elves in the coming campaign. So Lord knows he's made me scared enough of him. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I know some of you were expecting the end of the first campaign to be done. Just due to the fact that Skip had to be up at like 4 a.m. the next morning, we didn't have time to do a great big game, so this was the only game he got to stick around for. I got another little game in with Michael that we didn't take pictures of, but we knew if we were going to do the big end game, we really want to spend a good amount of time and not rush through it. So we're hoping to push that off till next week. So just hold on to your hats. We'll get that out to you guys. But as far as this one goes, that's another one in the can. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions on how to freaking deal with this Wood Elf list, I'm sure they would be appreciated. Feel free to leave them in the comments below, and we'll get back to you. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.